Hey guys, we'll do a quick stream, waiting for the new ISA season. Got a fair few buys I'm looking to make, so I sort of mentioned in the crypto video, if you saw yesterday, I was looking to probably time the new ISA season with a crypto sale, and we've had a fair run up in some of the sort of smaller altcoins today. So I made some sales this morning, and some Bitcoin as well. So a quarter of a Bitcoin for sort of £10,300, and a load of sort of smaller altcoins. Kept Ethereum and Litecoin and Cardano sort of unsold. They're the sort of bigger positions, but sold out a little of the sort of smaller coins, sort of about 15-20% of each of them, sort of Tron and Mise Go and that sort of thing, just sort of the less conviction positions. And yeah, I've got 20,000 together ready for the new ISA. So thought I'd share with you guys, what I'm looking at putting this into. So yeah, drop your comments in the chat. Hiya Josh, how you doing this evening? All good, all good. Got me me ISA money ready for tomorrow. How you doing? Anyone wants to sort of drop a stock in chat as well, we can have a look. Always interested to see people's sort of tips and ideas on new stocks. Always adding to the watch list and potentially the long-term pie if they look good. If you have a look, say, on Yahoo Finance and macro trends, if you want to sort of drop anything in. It generally does work sort of better for US stocks, but you can look at some info on foreign stocks as well. Yeah. Josh, what do you think of D dot? It's not one I've heard of. What are we looking at? Not digital. Not one I've heard of. Surprising to not even be on Yahoo Finance. It's on HL. $500 million market cap. Do Yahoo call them something different? No, they just don't like them. Not sure what they do. Software as a service, managed services to digital marketing professionals. a UK tech company. They say we don't have any. So, not quite a penny stock, but not too far off. So they've been going a little while. Steadily rising revenue. Surprising for a small company. You tend to sort of see explosive growth, or they go bust, basically. Steadily rising profits. Always very difficult to sort of look at these balance sheets when it's very small. It tends to be sort of a bit up and down, but everything sort of seems fairly steady for them. But debt, not a lot of debt. Issued a little bit of long-term debt. 16 million. Is that total liabilities though? This is June 2020. What was the cash? Yeah, 25 million in cash. 16 million total liabilities. That's pretty good. Retained earnings going up. Yeah, looks pretty good. I don't know whether it'll give you an accurate earnings per share. I suppose that is roughly, yeah, 3.93p, 3.84p. But they're, yeah, 166. So a little bit expensive, but this software as a service sort of young company, yeah, certainly worth looking into. Like CCC Computer Centre. Yeah, I've seen you mentioning Computer Centre sort of in the Discord. Just think they've been going for a little while, sort of 5 years or more, to sort of, and they're profitable, to still be trading at sort of, what is that, 50-ish, 50 PE? Seems a little bit expensive, but yeah, I guess so. Can't see when they've started up. They're at least 5 years old. Can't remember where it shows it on here. But yeah, interesting. We'd have to look sort of a bit further into them, I think. But it's not an area I'm sort of all that keen on. It seems to be something that can sort of get disrupted very easily if they're small companies. Would have to be sort of in a fairly well value range for me to be sort of considering them too much. Just that 40 odd PE, a little bit much for me. So Ali, have a look at Perion Network. Okay, so American on the NASDAQ. They do. Advertising to brands, agencies and publishers in North America. Okay. Advertising company. Taking on the mighty Google, in part. It's the only thing I would sort of worry about. Fairly small stock, 630 million. I take it, are we looking at loss making? No, small profit. Sort of projected, yeah, 34 cents. So again, sort of 50 to 60 PE. Yeah, 51 for trailing 12 months, but sort of looking forward, coming down a little, and then sort of 53 cents for next year. It's come down a little. Revenue's not going up all that much. Some of these sort of estimates and that sort of thing for growth, I'm not sure I'd put too much trust into these sort of growth estimates and that sort of thing, but yeah, we'll see. Analysts not liking it too much from the looks of it, but again, not too sure about their thoughts on younger companies. I guess this has all happened in the last month, that they've gone from sort of buys and strong buys to just hold. Has it had a fair run up? So go 6 months. Yeah, so it's gone up in March time, but come down a little, I expect, with the tech sell-off. Again, a little bit rich for me sort of at the moment, with interest rates going up and sort of people not necessarily wanting to be in growth, not really wanting to be in anything in the Nasdaq at the moment. I know we've sort of seen a little bit of a pump today, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to be sitting in a sort of small company with a 50 PE as any sort of sizable position. But yeah, profitable at least. Lots of companies on the Nasdaq aren't. Jay, wondering how highly you would recommend maximising the ISA to 20,000. At the moment you've only deposited 5k, as you're in the red in your general investing trading 212. Well, I wouldn't see being in the red as sort of any reason to hold on to invest account stocks. You know, if you were to sell everything in the invest account and move it over to the ISA, obviously you're not really losing anything. You'll be selling it in the red, but buying straight back in. So yes, the ISA will say, you know, 0% return, but you're obviously still down if you were down on the invest account. But yeah, you know, they could suddenly blow up, and then you would owe a load of tax potentially if you go over the limit. So yeah, I would normally say sort of max the ISA first and then move on to the invest account once that's done. That's certainly how I've done it. Josh, opinions on S4 Capital? There's a UK YouTuber who wants to make it his biggest position. Yeah, I've seen the Scottish chap, I can't remember his name now, Journey into Stocks. Yeah, it's one of his sort of fairly big ones, isn't it? It's a UK one. Yeah, London Stock Exchange. Not really one I've looked into from his, really. Not a lot of info on here. Digital advertising and marketing services company. Oh, they're worldwide. Not too bad. What's the 2.8 billion market cap? No analysis because it's UK. I'd just be very wary about sort of advertising companies. I think it's a bit of a hot space with sort of Facebook and Google. Sort of feels like David and Goliath, to be honest. I don't really know a huge amount about the advertising industry, to be honest. But yeah, they're sort of growing revenue, certainly. It's 340 million in revenue for a 2.8 billion market cap. Not too bad. Net income making a loss. I guess they're not tiny, 2.8 billion market cap to be making a loss. Not sort of growing tremendously. So decent assets over liabilities, and that's growing. 1.1 billion in assets now. It's mostly non-current assets, so not that much cash. Don't know whether that's debt, not a lot of current debt, not a lot of long-term debt, so yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'm not sure I could sort of really give too much insight on these advertising companies, to be honest. Yeah, probably want someone a bit better than me. Hello, Simon. Don't think you've seen what my dividend income is. Do I do a review of what I receive every month since you started investing? I've kind of sort of moved away from the sort of rigid dividend income, so I've got quite a lot of sort of US ones that pay sort of 1.5%, 2% dividend. So it wouldn't be a huge amount. I'm sort of going for total return, not really growth investing as such, still more sort of value and dividend companies, but you know, I'm not sort of afraid of a company that pays 1% or 2% dividend, especially the US guys. A lot of them seem to sort of issue a very small dividend and use the rest for buybacks, which is sort of basically the same thing. It would just mean if I was in retirement, then I would be sort of taking all of the dividend and then selling a little bit of the shares if they've gone up in price, sort of due to the buybacks. Just seems to be the way that the US sort of run their stuff. Their dividend tax rates aren't very good, so the US sort of companies don't seem to favour dividends very much, where sort of in the UK at least now, we don't seem to do a great deal of buybacks and we just give it all out as dividend. So saying that, I suppose at the moment it's portfolios at, well, after putting the new ISA in, be about 205,000, and I would say that's a very off the top of my head figure after dividend withholding tax from the US and that sort of thing, and some of the smaller yields. Probably get about 2% overall, so it'd be about 4,100 a year. So yeah, about 340 pounds. Well, maybe not quite that much, because a lot of that is in the gold funds and that sort of thing. So probably say about 130,000, say, that pay dividends. Yeah, so divided by 12. Yeah, so it's about sort of £200 a month or so. A lot of that comes sort of in the sort of March, June, September and December months. Just seem to have a lot of stocks that pay in those months. Yeah, so it's not 216 a month, it's sort of more lots in the 3rd, 6th, 9th and 12th months, and some sort of spread out around the rest of the year. Some of them pay twice a year, like Legal and General. But yeah, so that's sort of a rough take on what I get. I don't tend to sort of show every little dividend, but yeah, you can sort of look up the holdings that I've got and that sort of thing. Most of them are either quarterly or biannual payers. But yeah, certainly, obviously going up as I've been adding a lot more to the portfolio. Josh, how much of a ball ache is it to sort out tax? Yes, well, I haven't had to do it yet. So this tax year sort of obviously ends today. I'm going to have some tax to pay, I think, because I've done obviously exhausted the capital gains tax allowance on crypto. So anything I've sold within the general investment account is taxable. So there'll be a small amount to pay there. And dividends, I don't think I've earned £2,000 in dividends yet, because most of it was sort of put in December, January, February time. So I don't think I'd have any dividend tax to pay. It'd just be capital gains. And yeah, so I've got crypto tax to pay, and then capital gains on the sort of small amounts that I've sold in the invest account. But I'll be getting an accountant sort of to do that. I think it's for sort of this tax year ending today. Has to be sort of filed and paid sort of the end of the year. So I'll get an accountant sort of towards the end of the year. Haven't really sort of thought that much about what I owe. It's probably about 10,000 quid at the moment with the crypto sales, and then obviously the bulk of that is hopefully going to come in the next year, so it'll be Christmas 2022, which will be the big sort of tax bill. And again, that'll need an accountant. I wouldn't even try and, for sort of a portfolio this size, I wouldn't try and sort of do it myself. I could just, for the sake of, you know, a couple hundred quid, 200, 300 quid, that's sort of what I gather it's going to cost. It's not worth sort of making a mistake myself and, you know, potentially getting fined later down the line. I would say bite the bullet and get an accountant. Or if it's fairly simple and you've got reasonable records, then you could always do it yourself. Hi JK, you're doing the opposite as I do. Use the profits, about 12,000 in the general account, and move to the ISA on Trading 212, and then only put 8,000 to max out the allowance. Not really sure what the benefit to that is. So you've got your capital gains tax allowance, but I really thought that was for if you've already maxed out the ISA. You have to sort of comment what your thinking is on that. I mean, you could have, say, just put a whole lot in the ISA, and then I would normally think any overspill money that you've got before the next ISA season opens would go into the invest account, and then depending on whether you can put 20,000 a year in the ISA, then you would obviously just move that in. So as I'm doing, you know, if I didn't have the crypto money, I'd just be selling 20,000 from the invest account and moving it into the ISA. But yeah, I would always sort of think max out the ISA first, and then overspill money goes into the invest account. Yeah, you have to let us know what the thinking is there. Right, so shall I reveal the potential buys? This is sort of what I'm looking at the moment. So got my sort of long-term great big stocks list. This is sort of the REITs on the left-hand side that I sort of normally keep there, but sort of mentioned a few times that this was where the bulk of the money was going to be going. So sort of taking a rough split across sort of all of these, and yeah, sort of going a couple of thousand in the sort of bigger US ones, Stag Industrial and American Tower, Digital Realty. Only went for 1,000 with Realty Income because it just seems a little bit sort of not dodgy, but potentially not a super long-term one. I know it's sort of everyone's favourite monthly payer, but yeah, just sort of not all that happy with some of their tenants. They've obviously got sort of cinemas and sort of Walgreens, potentially sort of some people a little bit worried about Walgreens and sort of various places really. Just sort of feel a little bit happier about. Obviously data centres not going anywhere, cell towers I don't think are going anywhere anytime soon. And then you sort of know I like my my industrial ones with both Tritaxes and Stag. So sort of split 1,500 between the two Tritaxes, and yeah, fair bit in Stag, and then sort of a bit in the healthcare ones, just 1,000 in each of those. Yeah, so that sort of makes up, what are we, 14,000, and then sort of said I'd put a couple of thousand in the Arc Medical pie. Still seeing a lot online about sort of potential illiquidity and issues with the Arc Invest funds, but sort of fairly down on these already. Thought I would average down a little bit, and it's only a sort of small percent. I think even after I put this in, it'll still be sort of 1% of the total portfolio, including crypto. So wouldn't be devastating if it does sort of crash a fair bit, or I mean all of them aren't going to go bust. As I'm not actually invested in Arc themselves, I'm just in the shares themselves, so can't imagine they would all go bust. So that was the thinking there. And then, not 100% sure about this, but I may sort of leave the cash in there a little bit, but I was thinking average down my two individual gold stocks, Polymetal and Centamin. Kind of happier about Polymetal, seem at a really good valuation. So is Centamin, but sort of maybe not quite as good as Polymetal. And it was a bigger position to start with. I think Polymetal's about 4 times the size of my Centamin position. So thought I would maybe average these down, thinking that hopefully gold has bottomed and the inflation I think is coming. So those two should do well. And then maybe have a little dabble in some penny stocks. Everyone seems to love a bit of penny stocks at the moment, so thought I'll go for a few of those. I've got a few in the portfolio at the moment. Bought a little bit of Novacyte, a little bit of Transmedics, sort of small companies, and I did have bid stacks before, sort of little tiny gaming advertising company. Looking at maybe Guild Esports, the David Beckham company, and possibly put a little bit more. I think I'm down on Immersion, the sort of PS5 controller company. Basically, they do a bit of haptic feedback technology. So yes, actually, just looking, I'm down 17% on that. That's only a £50 investment, so might put a little bit into that as well. Just sort of have a little dabble on penny stocks. So yeah, that's where the 20k probably is going over the next week. JK, perhaps you're right. Yeah, I'm not, like I say, not saying it's the way you have to do it, but yeah, it was always sort of my thinking. Nice one, Simon. Yeah. Glad to see B-Box and E-Box on the list. Absolutely, yeah. Fairly happy with both. Eurobox has sort of come down pretty hard at the moment. I think sort of down to pretty much £1. So I expect that's partly lockdowns and sort of Europe not really dealing with the virus all that well. But yeah, fairly happy with them going forward. Seen some videos of their facilities. They look sort of state of the art, and yeah, looks pretty good. Hello, Sadiq. The other day you mentioned about Bitcoin price manipulation. Could you elaborate a bit further on this? Well, there's no sort of concrete proof of anything yet, but sort of similar to the gold market. Again, it's sort of not concrete and no one will ever sort of fully admit it, but there's a lot of accusations that people sell a huge amount of gold sort of futures contracts when sort of powers that be think that the gold price is getting a little bit too high. They sort of flood the market with a load of futures contracts, generally at sort of very awkward, low volume points in the day, so that it sort of really hammers down the price as much as they can. If they sort of did it at peak time, then it would potentially be sort of absorbed by the market and wouldn't have that much effect. So you sort of pick the sort of lowest volume, most awkward time to sort of dump as much as you can, and sort of pile those on, and they're sort of, I think they call it naked shorting basically. So they're not actually going to deliver any of this gold. These sort of contracts, as I understand, get rolled over and rolled over. They're never going to be settled physically. So sort of think as if Bitcoin starts getting up to, 2 trillion, 3 trillion, people start, I think people looking for sort of above 100k, that'd be sort of 2 trillion. Gold's at 10, 11 trillion. I think you might start getting a lot more of that sort of action potentially. You've got sort of CME exchanges and sort of various different people trading it now. You've got futures markets in different countries all around the world, so could potentially do a similar sort of thing, naked shorting on various futures exchanges. I just get a little bit wary of sort of the big powers not liking Bitcoin at sort of 2-3 trillion, and maybe wanting to sort of try and affect the price. JK, I take it do I have any Tesla? I don't know. Sort of very skeptical of Tesla even at this price. I've seen the sort of targets, the ARK Invest targets, $3,000, $4,000. Can't really see it, to be honest. Sure they might get there, and it'll be without me holding. It's fair enough, I'll miss out. And it's fair enough. Kind of think, everyone sort of does seem to admit that the car side of the business is basically never going to justify sort of the current market cap or the potential, 3-4 trillion market cap. So people are basically buying the stock on a theory of sort of robo-taxis, Tesla dominating, a robo-taxi industry that sort of doesn't exist yet, which seems a little bit optimistic. And then sort of factoring in sort of the solar business and AI potentially. Don't think there's been any sort of talk of like licensing out AI tech. I think it's just people's sort of confirmation bias, almost wanting to hear all of this stuff to justify buying it. if you take what they're doing at the moment, they're a car company, and valuing them against any other car company just looks ridiculous. I think the whole, they're 5 years ahead of everyone else idea just seems a little bit crazy now, with sort of other companies catching up. I think you've got sort of people like VW. Obviously, I'm in VW, selling, I think, about nearly half of what Tesla are selling per year in electric vehicles now. Obviously, Tesla, with today's bump, sort of 5 times the market cap of Volkswagen, pretty much, maybe 4.5, 5 times. And you got people like sort of Stellantis, which is on the maybe list on my long-term chart. Sort of had a little bump up, but some of the brands in there are sort of selling a fair amount of electric vehicles. I think they've done I think it was 115,000 last year. They're looking to sort of push that up, release some new models this year, and I think they've said they're going for 400,000 EVs sold this year. So that would potentially be half of what Tesla are looking to sell this year. I think they're looking to get to about 750,000, and Stellantis are less than a tenth of Tesla's market cap. So as I say, I think you've got to put a hell of a lot of stock into sort of Tesla's robo-taxi network, and the sort of solar business and that sort of thing, because it just doesn't go on today's market cap. Josh, do you see the article about eBox trying to raise funds to double the size of the business? I haven't. No, I'll have to have a read up of that. I mean, they're a REIT, so they're always looking to issue new shares, and they're sort of quite a small REIT, so wouldn't surprise me if they're looking to sort of issue a load of new stock and sort of either buy up some buildings or build some buildings. It's kind of how the REITs grow, really. You hope they're sort of spending it wisely and can get a decent contract. I know Big Box, the UK one, sort of sell shares and tend to sort of pre-let their buildings. In sort of people like Amazon will sort of pre-let before it's even talked about, and certainly before it's built it'll be pre-let to them, so you can issue stock knowing that it's going to go on a profitable building with a profitable lease. But yeah, I'll have to have a look and have a read up. Double the size of the business maybe seems a little bit bullish. I forget where they're at now. So tax, 720 million. That's in euros. I think they're about sort of 500-600 million. So not too big. If they've got sort of a large development or sort of set of developments that they're looking to invest in, then wouldn't be surprising to sort of issue a load of stock, maybe a little bit of debt, and sort of go after that. Be interesting. Sadiq, what's next selling target of Bitcoin? Well, seeing a hell of a lot of bullish price targets sort of in the next month or two. I think people are sort of going back on old, past calendars, seeing like April as one of the best months historically and that sort of thing. I'm not sure how much I put into that. I think take that with a pinch of salt, to be honest. But people sort of putting out $90,000 within the next month. I think that's probably a little bit little bit too bullish. I think probably I'll do another quarter of a Bitcoin at or maybe 65, 70,000 ish. That would take me down to 5 Bitcoin. I did sort of originally say I was going to sell right the way down to 5 Bitcoin at 50,000, so I'm already kind of late. That was partly thinking that I needed to probably have a bit more than my original target of sort of looking about 500,000 or 600,000. If I'm sort of going off my inflation is coming thesis, then I think maybe I need a little bit more than 500 or 600. I think it's probably more closer to 650, 700,000. So I thought I would just hold off a little bit more on Bitcoin. So yeah, I think probably $65,000. Maybe take another quarter of a Bitcoin off, and if we start sort of getting any, huge push to, 70, 75,000, then I may sell a whole Bitcoin, to be honest, at that price, sort of leaving me with 4. But yeah, still looking to probably have the majority of it probably sell down to 1 Bitcoin, to be honest, by about 100,000. As I say, sort of beyond that, get a little bit nervous. Wouldn't really want to be holding hundreds of thousands sort of in something that could be that volatile. We don't know whether 100,000 is the top and then you're getting another 50, 60, 70% drop. So this is hoping to be sort of the retirement fund. So I'd hate to sort of throw away, 200,000-300,000 just sort of waiting for it to potentially go to, $250,000 each. So that still sort of keep, as I say, maybe sort of 1 Bitcoin in case it does go crazy, and then that would sort of make the portfolio very comfortable. Josh, do I get into Segro? No, still on the watch list, I'm afraid. Don't know if you did. I didn't see what it's up to recently. I think it sort of went up a little, but not all that much. Still don't sort of seem to like their financials compared to Tritax. They're obviously sort of very large, and it does combine UK and Europe, but yeah, just didn't seem to sort of like their model, to be honest. So they're at £9.50. Get up on it. Yeah, seem to have had sort of a bit of an up and down run. Haven't really sort of gone anywhere in the last 6 months. Not sure what that trailing PE ratio is. I expect that's wrong. Don't know if they give you a huge amount of earnings per share info. Yeah, the earnings per share in the financials bit isn't very good on Yahoo Finance, and especially for UK companies. Yeah, so they haven't earned 123 pence, I don't think. But certainly one to keep an eye on, but I think at the moment I sort of prefer the combo of Tritax's. 11 billion market cap. That seemed very, very large. I can't imagine them wanting to sort of issue loads and loads of shares and be sort of expanding all that much beyond that. So you're sort of looking at lease rate rises and that sort of thing, and would imagine there maybe isn't all that much growth compared to, say, Tritax that can sort of issue, more shares. They're only sort of a couple of billion, and yeah, maybe get a little bit more of the market. I mean, obviously, like you say, look at back sort of 5 years. Yeah, they've gone up 150%. Yeah, so it's sort of 100. I mean, yeah, this is a hell of a strange chart. So they're sort of down since 2007. I do remember seeing this sort of the huge drop in the sort of financial crisis. I never really looked into history of sort of why that happened. I was kind of just looking from a forward basis, but always just seems to have a lot of red flags for me, to be honest. So Bruce, if you had to invest in any crypto for the next year, which two would I pick? I don't look at a lot of the newer coins, to be honest. I'm maybe not the best person to ask for that. A lot of the ones that I've got are basically held over from the 2017 bull run. So as I say, I'm not in sort of Binance Coin, Polkadot, Uniswap and Chainlink, that sort of thing. A lot of the sort of the newer ones. I mean, Cardano, sort of from what everyone says, is going to be big. It's going to be one to take on Ethereum. They're very sort of slow developers, but they seem to do it sort of the right way. It's reviewed by a lot of their developments are reviewed by a lot of talented people from the looks of it, and sort of when something does get implemented, it gets done right. So I would think potentially they have higher upside than Ethereum. So I'm sort of holding Cardano for a reasonable amount of time. Maybe another one. I mean, I'm fairly bullish on Ethereum, but it's sort of 240 billion. I don't know if you're looking for a sort of a smaller cap one. I would say Bitcoin and Ethereum would always be the first two positions if you don't own any. But if you've already got some and are looking for a smaller coin, so I own sort of Stellar and Litecoin and Tron and that sort of thing. But yeah, they're sort of, I suppose I'm a bit more attached to them because I've held them since sort of the 2017 bull run. VeChain has sort of been pumping quite a lot. It's sort of up a hell of a lot in the last year. I see they have a lot of partnerships with people, but I don't know if you're buying into. I mean, it's not pump and dump. Obviously, there's a lot of sort of development and partnerships there. There's certainly a market for what they're doing. Not really into privacy coins. And yeah, as you start getting sort of outside the top 50, it's obviously getting a little bit more speculative. So yeah, there's a lot of sort of bullish thoughts on the platform tokens, the sort of Cardano, Polkadot and Binance coin, sort of taking on Ethereum, maybe taking off a little bit of load from the Ethereum network. Doesn't have to be one platform token to rule them all, if you like. And I mean, if Ripple XRP can sort of get over their lawsuit, I still think this will sort of come to nothing really, and I think they've got a fair bit of potential. Does tend to sort of spike when they'll announce, a partnership with one of the big banks or something. It could just go crazy out of nowhere. Still sort of, I think 75% off its all-time high, but nothing says it has to go there, obviously. But yeah, I would say sort of Cardano probably would be my top one outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and maybe something like XRP or Litecoin as a smaller one. Got to go, Josh. Have fun spending the 20k tomorrow. Yeah, will do. It'll be this week. I mean, it takes a little while to put into trading 212. But yeah, have a nice week. So yeah, putting the 20k in, can only do 10,000 a day into trading 212. So it'll sort of partly go in tomorrow. I may not actually be able to buy anything tomorrow. I have to wait until, I might sort of wait until the morning and try and bank transfer it if the limit's reset. Can do 10,000 tomorrow and then 10,000 Wednesday. Yeah, so may not sort of get everything I want bought until sort of Wednesday, Thursday time. But yeah, open to suggestions if you guys think sort of anything different to my list here. Maybe play a little bit around with the weightings. Maybe take some of them out, add something else in. Or yeah, just any other questions if you want to drop them in the comments. Or if not, we can call it a short stream, I guess. Only sort of been a couple of weeks since the last one, I think. Just sort of thought, coming up to the new ISA season, I would do a quick stream just to let you know what I'm looking at buying. Still wondering about gold. Sort of had this potential chart a long while ago with a sort of cycle going into 2022. So we're, I guess, around about here at the moment. Not quite at $1,900. Sort of down maybe about here. So yeah, not a million miles away from where this was showing. Could potentially have a run up to 2,000 or so later in the year. Got my Hargreaves Lansdowne ISA and my iWeb ISA still entirely in the gold and silver funds. Hoping to probably trade out transfer the Hargreaves Lansdowne one into trading 212 as soon as they allow transfers in, without me having to sell out to cash, because that's a pain. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Sadiq, any thoughts on the US Bitcoin miners like Mara? Yeah, I've seen sort of a lot of people talking about Mara and Riot. Yeah, if I look at Mara, I think they're the sort of slightly smaller one. So Riot are at, oh no, Marathon, yeah, Marathon Patent are a little bit larger actually. Yeah, sort of seen a lot of reports sort of saying they're less efficient than the Argo blockchain in the UK, but I think they actually have even less revenue. Yeah, I sort of couldn't quite believe that. I was thinking maybe just Argo blockchain are maybe more efficient, slightly more profitable in their mining, but did less revenue. But yeah, having sort of a look at these breakdowns before, at least, it seems Argo actually do a little bit more revenue than Riot and Marathon. So it does seem a little bit strange. Obviously, they're at 4 and 5 billion, and Argo are at 800 million. So whether this is just US Bitcoin money wanting to get into Bitcoin and not having an ETF or anything to buy into, so they buy into the miners. Yeah, it seems a little bit strange. Don't know if there's a great deal of analysis on these sort of companies. So they're not showing next year's earnings per share, showing this year as $2.10. So yeah, whether that's accurate or not, I guess showing about 27, 28 sort of forward PE. Not terrible, I guess, for someone in Bitcoin, but yeah, just sort of can't really see what's making them higher than Argo blockchain, to be honest. I guess unless they're expanding sort of pretty aggressively. Don't know if it shows that 50% growth potentially per annum next 5 years. I mean, again, I don't really put a great deal of thought into these growth estimates. EPS trend has been going up a hell of a lot. How many? One analyst. So yeah, I'm not sure how much, focus I'd put into sort of these numbers. Obviously, with one analyst, it's not great. Don't know if Riot are any better. Yeah, still no analyst for next year. One analyst. I don't know if it's the same one, sort of doing both, but sort of similar earnings per share. So similar PE pretty much, and yeah, sort of larger revenue, but not a huge amount of revenue. Certainly not. I don't even think it's double Argo blockchain's revenue. So yeah, to be 5-6 times the market cap, sort of seems a little bit crazy, to be honest. I mean, Argo are buying some new land and expanding their facilities and that sort of thing. So they're all growing. Not sure I can see it, to be honest. I think I would just go with Argo. JK, have a good evening. You got to go. Yeah, see you later, mate. Have a nice week. Right, I'll give it a couple of minutes and yeah, probably head off. Look at a few interesting stocks. Have a quick review of my penny stocks, sort of probably tonight, and go into those. As I say, sort of looking at Bidstack, the little gaming advertising company, and the esports, Guild Esports, Transmedics. They're a little company that are making a sort of organ transplant machine to keep organs sort of alive a little bit longer, because apparently a lot of organs sort of fail in the transplant system and don't get used. So it's an interesting one. A lot of these are sort of tips off various people on Discord and sort of the odd YouTube video. So just put a little couple £100 maybe in, just as a little sort of punt bet. And yeah, Polymetal and Centamin. I was wondering whether to average down on these or just start investing more into some of my other stocks. But it's too tempting seeing Polymetal where it is. Got big dividend coming up soon as well, final dividend. So yeah, to be dropping, sort of going into that big dividend seems fairly tempting. So I'll be putting 2,000 into that. So I think if a Bitcoin ETF gets approved, it'll affect these miners. I think it would, to be honest. I mean, there's already I think 2 Bitcoin ETFs on the Toronto exchange. You got one in the, you got the BTCE one on the German exchange, and I think there's sort of a few going around on other exchanges, but you've got, I think, 6 applications for a US Bitcoin ETF, I think, from sort of Fidelity and Vanek and, you know, big players in the game. I think presumably they've maybe got a little bit of insider information that they can get approved now. When you start seeing, you know, big companies like Fidelity sort of going in, I can't imagine they want the bad PR of getting an application rejected. Maybe it happens all the time, I don't know, but yeah, I would think maybe they've got an inkling that it's going to get passed, and with 6 going in, just seems a little bit, yeah, too much like one of those is going to get approved. Maybe a load of them get approved, and then, yeah, all the US people who want to invest, you know, they've either got Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which over the last year or two has sort of traded at a hell of a premium, so you're overpaying for the Bitcoin you're buying, or you buy, you know, Riot and Mara blockchain, and yeah, so I do wonder if that's maybe soaking up a little bit of the US demand. You got Argo blockchain wanting to list on the Nasdaq as well, so that'll compete with Riot and Mara. So I just can't see that much of a bullish case for Riot and Mara. I think I would either go for sort of Bitcoin itself, just investing directly, or probably Argo. And you can have Argo in an ISA, so just makes it a little bit sweeter if it does rocket up, no tax. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it there, boys. Quick stream tonight, just as I say, thought do an hour, just see how everyone is. Anyone wants to sort of drop in what they're investing in, if they're buying in at the new ISA season. We can always leave a comment on one of my YouTube videos. I tend to just get them ping up. I don't get that many comments, to be honest, so it's not too hard to sort of reply to most of the comments. So yeah, I'll probably head off and speak to you guys soon. Thank you, Sadiq. Yeah, no worries. As I say, I'm not, I wouldn't call myself sort of the absolute authority on this, certainly. Certainly Riot and Mara could rocket up. I don't know that much about the companies specifically. You know, they could be sort of trading higher because they're, you know, expanding heavily more than Argo and people like that, and you know, revenues are going to rocket. But yeah, if you want to sort of do a little bit more research into them, and yeah, if you find anything, drop us a comment on one of my videos, and yeah, I'll maybe look into them myself. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I'll leave it there.